Okay, so today we were supposed to discuss about the various methods of welding of rails. I think in the previous class, if you remember, we had discussed about the purpose of welding of rails, and then we discussed about the advantages of welding. Now we shall be discussing about the methods of welding that are available with us. Right. So there are basically four popular ways with which the rails can be welded along a railway track. The first one is electric arc welding. Second is oxyacetylene welding. Third, flash butt welding, and then chemical or thermite welding. So we shall be discussing each one of these in detail in this particular class. Okay, so let us begin with the first one, that is electric arc welding. So what actually happens is in this particular method is that the current will be passed through the rails at the same time through a thin rod, which is popularly known as the electrode. So when this electrode is touched to the rails through which the electricity is already passed, the electrode actually melts and gets filled up between the gap of the two rails. So there will be at least some 5 to 10 gap which will be kept between rail A and rail B, and then the electrode will be brought close to this particular section of the rail, and when it touches the rail which already is conducting electricity, the electrode starts melting with the help of the flux coating that will be provided, and that generates heat when it starts burning, and that heat would be more than enough to melt the metal that is there inside this electrode, and that's how the molten metal gets filled in the gap, and this gap will be filled by the molten metal, as I told you, and then it will start binding with these two rails together, and then the excess material will be chipped off or it will be grinded. Okay, so this particular technique is basically used in joining the rails, very convenient to even repair the worn out points and crossings, or even the sections of the rails which has got deteriorated over time. All right, so this is about electric arc welding. I'll try showing you a video on how this electric arc welding is actually done. Is everyone able to see the video?
Yes, sir.
Is the audio of the video also audible? So these are the electrodes. See, that's how the metal will be filled in stages, and those are the molds which will be put so that the metal molten metal doesn't fall apart. So you could see how the electric arc welding is done by using the packing that we provide on the side, so that the shape of the head and the web gets retained. Okay, so that was about electric arc welding. Next is what we call as the oxyacetylene welding. So in this particular technique, a huge amount of heat would be developed by burning acetylene in the presence of oxygen gas, which will be melting the electrode, and it deposits the molten metal in the gap between the two rails which are supposed to be joined. Okay, so this is similar to the electric arc welding what we have. I'll just see if there is a video on it. So this you can see that there will be two such metal pieces which is being demonstrated here. On the similar grounds, I think you can imagine that there will be two such rails which will be welded together. So basically what happens is, this is the torch, what they call as. Now this torch will be generating huge amount of heat, and to this heat, if there's an electrode which is brought close to it, that electrode starts melting and it starts filling up the gap. Okay.
safety that you want, fibers will not explode completely. Now that I have my metal setup, this is enough to feel it. Keep your striker holding on a slight angle, side here. You get a nice sooty flame. All that black stuff is carbon. You want to get rid of that, but it makes a big mess. I'm going to just open up my 7-inch valve until that black smoke goes away. That's a nice feathered flame. Delicious. If you do thin material, you don't need as hot of a flame. In this case, you're doing 8-inch flat bar. So I'm going to open that up. I get a nice roar. I don't have a special number for this. Beautiful. Next, we're going to open up our oxygen and add some oxygen to this mix. Watch carefully what happens to the flame. Now, if you look at it, it looks like we have 2 different cones here. We've got a very bright one, and we have a longer one here. Don't try to touch it, but you can get pretty close without feeling any heat. I'm not going to purposely do that though. All right, I'm going to adjust some more oxygen until that one cone gets nice and tight. Here's just set the exposure on the camera down a little bit so you can see the 2 different cones. When you first just assembling of that, add your oxygen, and you see 2 different colored flames. Good. A short bright one and a long one there. I'm going to add more oxygen until I have a very nice little cone. It's maybe less than a centimeter long. Correct. So I have my flat bar set up with a very slight gap in between. I want to have a little bit of a gap to allow the metal to penetrate when it gets welded together. I'm going to start by tacking both ends, and then I'm going to do a fusion weld. To tack first, I'm going to heat it up and hold my torch on about a 45-degree angle and kind of zigzag between the 2 pieces while concentrating on one area. If this is taking too long, you can increase the pressure and get more heat. What we're looking for is both pieces of metal basically turn molten. You'll see it start to get shiny on both sides, and those 2 shiny parts will join together into one part. Back and forth, and there we have now a little pump. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. I've dropped the exposure on the camera so you can get a better look at what's going on here. So I'm holding my torch on about a 45-degree angle, zigzagging back and forth between the 2 pieces. I'll hold the torch on the other side so you can see better. I want to get a nice little puddle. Back and forth between the 2. I'm just hovering above the metal. I don't want the torch to actually touch the metal. My puddle should join soon. The 2 sides are getting molten. I want those 2 little puddles there to become one. Wait for that moment. Little circles or zigzags. There it is. See that? Now we have a nice little joint. Now that I got my 2 sides tapped, I'm going to practice laying a fusion weld, which is basically taking that puddle and pushing it down the length of my joint here. Whether you're left-handed or right-handed, it doesn't matter. You got to find a way that works for you. I'm going to go in this direction and push my puddle that way. And hold my fingers. Parts. Be assembling first, A, and then O. You can take this to a bucket of water or to the shop sink to cool it. but when we're just practicing, I think it's a, you can take a closer look at it. If you want to do more penetration, you can put a little bit more space in each one.
So this is how the oxyacetylene welding is done on rails also. Provided this particular person, what he has done is he has tried to uh, move the metal from one point to the other point so as to just use the same material to join the two metals together. On the other hand, what you can do is you can use the electrodes as it was shown in the previous case. Okay, and that electrode will be melted because of the torch that was shown here, and then it gradually fills up the gap between the two rails. Okay, so that is what about is regarding oxyacetylene welding. Next we will be moving on towards the next method, which is called as the flash butt welding. Now what happens here is a huge voltage would be passed through the two rails which are supposed to be joined, and the two rails which will be carrying huge amount of electricity will be brought close to each other, because they both will be of opposite charges, positive and negative. So the positive charge will be sent through one rail, and the negative charge will be sent through the other rail. Then when they both are brought close to each other, there'll be a huge amount of heat that will be generated because of these two opposite charges. So when they are brought close to each other and they are pressed with each other at a very high pressure, say around 20 tons force, that amount of heat which gets generated between these two rails will be more than enough to melt the metal that is there at the section. And then if it is held for certain period of time, the both rails are expected to be joined together. Okay, so normally to have this kind of a welding process, you need a huge setup. It cannot happen at the site, but you can have it at the welding plants close to the site, so that the welding can be done and then carried to the site and placed. Okay, so I'll just try searching if there are videos on it. So you can have a look at this video. This is specifically for rails. There'll be a very huge plant which will be carrying out this work.
Civil engineering bits.
Flash butt welding of rails. The purpose of welding is to join rail ends together by the application of heat and thus eliminate the evil effects of rail joints. A. Gas pressure welding. B. Electric arc or metal arc welding.
According to operation requirements of an Ashbach welding machine, rail ends and both sides of rail and surfaces to be touched by electrode of the flashbot welding machine shall be derusted.
The rail ends are then brought together in the flash butt welding machine and longitudinally and vertically aligned by suitably adjusting the machine. The rail ends are then welded in the flash butt welding machine. After welding, step of the weld is checked with the step gauge. After completing the welding and pulling of the rail welded joints, the grinding machine shall be used to grind the weld.
So actually that's the machinery. It's a small scale machinery which does the flash butt process. But actually in the factories, you will be having a very huge similar such machinery which will be doing the flash butt welding. That's how the flash takes place. See, this is how the welding will be done by using flash butt technique. That's how they check the levels. And in case if there's any variation in the levels, then they'll be using the grinding machine to grind the surfaces. Okay, so this is normally called as the straight edge. So straight edge also might be fitted with the level tubes to check the levels. So this is how the process would be. Okay. Then we have the chemical or thermic method. Now, normally in this technique, there'll be aluminum and iron oxide chemicals or minerals being used. So they will be in the powdered form. So that mix will be used to ignite and create reaction between the minerals that are there. Usually this reaction which takes place between these two will be exothermic in nature. Exothermic in nature means it generates heat while it gets reacted. So after the reaction has taken place, normally iron oxide or iron or suitable alloy will be filled up between the gap, and then the furnace will be heated. And this furnace, you can see that the furnace would look like this. Okay, so there will be a container at the bottom also. You will be putting all those things inside, and the metal gets heated up and it gets filled in with the within the gap. So that's how it looks like. So I'll quickly try showing you the video of it. So this particular technique is very simple when compared to the other techniques, and much more accurate. The work happens at a very faster pace. So you can see this is the furnace, and this is the mix which will be poured inside this furnace later. normally it will be having a bottom wall, and then it ignites. The reaction is exothermic in nature. So whatever metal that is there within, it just melts at a very high temperature and then gets filled in this furnace. So you can see how it gets poured in. That's the hot metal which gets poured into this mold. That's how they remove the mold out. And once it is removed, the metal would look like this. The excess would be chipped off like this. And that's how the grinding will be done. So that was about the chemical or thermite welding. So most of the places they use this technique to do the welding process. I think uh, today's class was much clear to you about how the things are practiced at the site and in the plant to weld the rails. Was it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think I'll stop here, and it's your job to look into the textbook and read the things in detail. In the next class, I'll be discussing about the length of welded rails. There will be optimum length of welding of rails being done, which need to be practiced, and I shall be discussing two simple examples based on it. So once that is done, then this particular chapter would be complete. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
I'm not able to hear any voice. Okay, yeah, fine then. So I'll be sharing this video with you guys. Okay.
Thank you, sir.